Hello and welcome again to RC Model Reviews. Well, things are a bit different here, aren't they? My walls, finally getting my walls up, so I'll have a reasonable place to film all these videos for you. But I wanted to just post this quick video in response to some of the comments about the Dud Taranis video I posted yesterday. Now, there have been a lot of comments on that video, and a lot of people have asked questions, and rather than reply to the same questions being asked multiple times, I will try and answer them all here. First of all, could it have been a flat battery? Well, no, it couldn't have, because the battery was not fully charged, but pretty well charged when I received it. And after the fault disappeared, I left it running for a couple of hours and it was still going fine. Also, when the when the fault occurred, I stripped the radio down, took the back off, and I was measuring voltages inside the radio on the logic board, and there were voltages there, so the power was getting from the battery to the logic board, but it was still in a faulty condition. So it wasn't the battery, wasn't a faulty wiring, wasn't a faulty switch. All those things would have prevented the power from getting to the logic board itself. So I guess I've just had a quick look and exhausted the simple possibilities, but some of the more important issues: does this mean that the Taranis is a bad radio? Well, no, I hope in the video I posted, I got across the fact that this is just one radio out of thousands that have been sold and shipped. And I haven't heard any other people, I've got no emails from people saying, oh, I got one, it was just the same as yours and it stopped working. I think the worst thing I've read so far is someone had a faulty LCD and they're going to have to return it because the LCD is just too dim. And, oh, well, you know, I mean, when you look at the thousands being shipped, a failure rate of you know, perhaps 1 or 2 in 1,000, that's pretty good these days for modern standards. And even Rolls-Royce, even Lexus, they all have warranty service issues, because it doesn't matter how good the quality of components, doesn't matter how well you design something, doesn't matter how well you build it, how much you test it after it's built, there's going to be problems once it reaches the customer. I mean, when my radio arrived, it was working perfectly, absolutely perfectly. So if FreeSky had tested that, it would have looked good, no problems. I can't find a fault that doesn't show up when you're testing. So it didn't actually fault till it got into my hand, so it's not FreeSky's fault, and it's not HobbyKing's fault. People are saying, oh, that'll teach you to buy from HobbyKing, you haven't got a warranty now, have you? Well, hey, when you buy stuff on HobbyKing, and a lot of these Chinese, let's just talk about most of them, there's usually a little box that says, I agree to accept the terms and conditions, and often those terms and conditions are, if you get a faulty product, you've got to send it back to us. And to be honest, that's not unreasonable, because there are people out there, unscrupulous people, who would simply say, oh, I bought this expensive product and it's faulty, send me a new one. And without having the old one back to check, well, hey, you know you're going to get ripped off by some of the people out there that are a little less than scrupulous. So it's only fair and reasonable that if you've got a faulty product, you've got to send it back. It's unfortunate for me that I live on the arse end of the world, and our postage rates overseas are some of the highest in the world, so it cost me a fortune to send the damn thing back. That's a risk you take. Over the years, I've bought way more stuff from China than I'd like to admit. And although I've had the occasional dud, and a Taranis is one of them, if I added up all the money I'd saved compared to buying locally, oh, I'm streets ahead by many orders of magnitude. I mean, an example, one reader or one viewer put a comment saying, oh, I've got a JRX G8, and it's great, works fine, perfect, no problem, quality. And I've reviewed the JR, and it is indeed, it's a good quality radio. It's well made, it works well. Second part of that review is coming up in the summer here, so you see how well it actually performs in the field. It's got telemetry, but in New Zealand, that radio is $800, right? A new 8-channel receiver is $250. That's more than I paid for the Taranis radio. So unless you're going to have one plane, one receiver, you know, the Taranis is going to work out, or any of these other Chinese-made radios is going to work out a lot cheaper in the longer run. For example, I don't know how many receivers I've got. I just ordered some more because I've got a lot of planes. And so let's say I've got 10 models. I buy the FreeSky receivers. They range from $16 up to about $35. And let's take the middle figure. Let's say we spend $30. That's $300 I spend on receivers for my 10 models. Now, if I had a JRX G8, then I would be spending $250 a receiver. I would have spent $2,500 on receivers. Now, hey, maybe it's a better product by a small margin. I don't know. I haven't finished the testing, but it's not, you know, it's not $2,200 better, put it that way. So it's horses for courses. If money was no object, then people would probably make certain buying decisions, but money is an object, so people make decisions based on what they can get for their money. Quality and value are two separate things. The best value product will not always be the best quality product. But hey, bottom line, the Taranis, I'm still chuffed to bits. Yeah, I'd recommend you buy one. I haven't heard any real horror stories about the Taranis. There's been a few issues, but hey, what about all the Spectrum DX8 owners who had to send their radios back because there was major issues and they had to be recalled? What about the JR, what is it, the X9305 or something when that came out with the DSM thing, and it had a wiring chafing issue on the stick units and all sorts of things. Futaba have had a whole lot of temperature sensitive receivers that had to go back. These things, hey, and there was the 0 GUID problem with the early Futaba fast system and the 6-channel radio. Nothing is perfect. I'm not knocking JR, I'm not knocking Futaba, and I'm not knocking FrSky, Taranis or HobbyKing. It's just the market we work in. And I'm so much happier now that we've got the choices and the options that we have compared to even 10 years ago when you had to spend, in New Zealand, you had to spend $250 on a 4-channel Sky, Futaba Sky Sport 4. But now that money buys you a top-of-the-line 16-channel digital radio with speech and telemetry and everything in the form of the Taranis. Brilliant. So there you go. Not knocking anything, but the other thing, some people said, oh, you shouldn't have posted that video. Well, why not? Why not? When people come to RC model reviews, even before my new walls went up, they expect the facts. They don't expect me to say, oh gosh, FrSky sent me a free radio. I shouldn't say anything bad about them. If I've got a dud one, let's just ignore it. I won't pretend it didn't happen. No, it's not the way I work. And people know that. People expect me to tell them the bad as well as the good. Okay, so I could have just said, hey, not mentioned the fact that I got a Dud Taranis. But I mentioned it because that's what I do. I tell you the good and the bad. I tell you what's good, and I tell you the stuff that's got warts and is crap. And then I try and tell you why, and I try and give you the information you need to make an informed buying decision. I hope I've done that. And don't be put off by the fact I said I've got a 50% failure rate because I have 2 units out of thousands. That's not a statistically significant sampling, so it means nothing. If I'd bought the one Taranis, I could have said 100% of them are faulty, but it wouldn't be true either. So yeah, go on. I think you can continue to buy the Taranis with confidence. You can buy from HobbyKing with confidence because the failure rate seems to be so very low that the chances of you getting a dud are minimal, and you're going to save money. In fact, more importantly at this stage, they were one of the only places that had them in stock because they're like hen's teeth, these Taranises. They are so good and they are so cheap that suppliers can't keep them on the shelves. So, you have to buy them where you can. So that's it, just sort of filling in the gaps, answering some of the questions, letting you know that, yeah, I did think long and hard about this video, and I did do all the basic tests, and I've tried hot and cold. Yes, I've got it. Don't tell anybody. I've got some cans of Freon, CFCs, kill the ozone hole, but they're wonderful for doing hot and cold testing. So I've been using that, using the reflow gun to heat and cool certain parts. I have a strange feeling that this may be something as simple as a voltage regulator, because when the radio failed, it was displaying the backlight and was beeping, maybe a voltage regulator, faulty, folded back, switched off and didn't come back on, I don't know, but I will be putting it on the bench in my new workshop where I'll have a real bench and not just a wiggly old table, so I'll be able to leave that running. Hopefully, we'll do a repair video and you'll see for yourself that maybe that radio was the victim of a 10-cent part. It wasn't made by FrSky, it wasn't made by HobbyKing, and might be a brand name component. Who knows? You'll know when I know. Thank you for watching. If you've got comments, put them on this video. And just a tip, read the comments, because I noticed a lot of the same questions were asked on that last video. People asking the same question that someone had already asked. So yeah, read what other people have said. And then if they haven't asked what you want to ask, put your question up there and put your comments up there. And if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. And if you like the fact that I'll tell you the good and the bad, then, give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching. See you soon in my new workshop with real walls, not just, the framing. Real soon. Bye for now.